Hello, and welcome to my dining room. This is episode 29 of the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. Today is Friday, November 1st, 2024. My name is Anne or Annie, and I am coming to you from the banks of the Mississippi River in western Wisconsin. And it's November already. Seems fast. Time flies. But I like this time of year a lot. It's fall. We're knee deep in fall and all the beautiful leaves. We had a lot of wind the last few days, so most of the trees are bare. Leaves are on the ground, but it's just a really nice time of year. So without further ado, we will get started. First of all, thank you for all the views and the nice comments and yes, all the good feelings that I get, emails and such. I really appreciate it. And I want to mention, I was kind of excited this week, the episode that I did, I think it was 23 maybe, where I talked about soap and laundry and the soap sacks, and I mentioned Brenda Dane as the one who started doing knitting podcasts when it was still just audio and not video as well, and was the pioneer. Well, whenever I mention a designer or someone significant, I usually try to send them a message through Ravelry or an email if I have access to that. Let them know that I talked about them just as a courtesy. And just this week, Brenda replied and said, well, thank you for the shout out. And she watched the episode and she liked it. And she did say that she's actually going to come back to that theme of mindful making and, purposeful projects and that. And I think that'll be very interesting to listen to. I'm excited to hear about that. So yeah, look forward to hearing her podcast in the future. And I was, oh wow, Brenda Dane is emailing me. How exciting. So yes, that was a nice surprise. So the sun is creeping this way, but it's also going higher. So I'll see what I can do as far as staying out of the full sun and shadows and all that. There's a bit of cloud cover too, so it might not be too bad. But I just love all the natural light that, comes into this room. And if you haven't noticed, the plants are back. They were back last time. I forgot to mention it. I got the first chill that we had when it wasn't even necessarily threatening frost, but it was getting down there. I thought, don't wait till the bitter end. Just bring them in now and do it, kind of not gradually, but do it so that I could take my time doing it and put them where I, wanted to, good places and that, set it up all well, instead of hauling them all in at the last minute and then trying to, and it being a mess. Because it can be a mess. All the pots have been outside. Some of they've gotten dirty and they all need saucers under them again to catch the rainwater or the water from watering. So it takes a while. And yeah, so they're all in here and I hope they're happy. I realized I forgot my big rosemary plant the last time I watered. And so I watered rosemary this morning and I hope she perks up. So, oh, here's George. Okay, I thought he was sleeping. Apparently not. So, and he's going to sit on crunchy paper. George. I'll get this away from him right away. I'll show you that later. All right, onward. Talk about what I'm wearing first of all. This is a cowl that Yarnology had a kit made up of. And I'm not remembering the name of this cowl. And in fact, I looked on my Ravelry page. I haven't even done a project page for this. And I finished it in 2021. So I need to catch up with some of these projects. But this was a kit that they put together for a few episodes I mentioned that Have a Ball Fall Crawl. Hey, George. And they had done presentations in that at least the first 2 years that was going on, maybe 3, I'm not sure. But yeah, this was the cowl kit that they had, and the yarn is from Potpourri Yarn Company, which is also a local indie dyer, and so she made up these kits especially for them. And it's DK weight, I believe, probably a merino superwash base. I will get the details on the Ravelry page if you're interested. But I just love all the colors. When I saw it, I thought, oh, those are my colors. So yeah, I have to get that kit. So it starts with this dark, oh, and everything's in the sun now, so you might not, oh, I'm sorry, you might not see it very well. But yeah, darker green, and then a cream, and then this sage green, then this rusty coral color, and oh yeah, and this taupey, light beige in between, and then yeah, the taupe at the top. It just goes with a lot of clothes that I have. So it goes very well with this shirt, even though this shirt is a little more orange than this. It also goes with my tea mug here. And I have a shirt, another corduroy shirt that's this color. So it goes with at least 2 things, if not more. And I actually have on a dark brown turtle today underneath, kind of getting bundled up to take a walk after the podcast. So it's nice. And you know, I said I don't like to knit lace, but this lace was, you know, it was nice enough for me. I took it with me when I went to visit friends for Thanksgiving. I took it and I worked on it on the train for a bit, and then I actually started visiting with a fellow passenger, and so I couldn't necessarily concentrate on the lace pattern, and I had just gotten started and done the ribbing and that, so I switched projects to something a little more mindless so we could chat. And when I got to Chicago and then we also went to Michigan, it was not really a mindless project. I did have to kind of concentrate on the lace, and I didn't put in lifelines. I actually bought that year. We went to the local yarn shop in Michigan there, and I bought the barber cords, you know, and I tried putting it through the stitches after the fact so that I could rip back the color that was wrong, and that didn't work. To put it in after the fact, it was not a happy situation. So I gave up on it until I got back home. Maybe on the train home I worked on it a bit, or I could concentrate. But yeah, I finished it December 31st, 2021. So really, a month wasn't bad for a project, and it was probably one of those that I put aside and like, okay, well, it's the end of the year, I want to get something finished. So I did it. It's very comfortable. It's very soft, of course, you know, if it's superwash merino, which I think that's what it is. Yeah, so it feels good. My only other thing, and this is just, again, how I am with cowls, like you could see it's all bunched up here. It doesn't, like if I have the shirt open, it's harder to pull it down because it is just one big tube and then it wants to roll up. So, and because it is a big tube, I've got a turtleneck on. I've got this with a big collar on it. I've got this all bunched up in the back of my neck. It almost does feel a bit like a neck brace, you know. It's like, it's a lot. So I do prefer the bandana style cowls, or like the seaman's scarf type, where it's just, it kind of can all scrunch together a little bit better at the back, that would be less fabric to bunch up at the back of the neck. But I still like it. You know, I like it for what it is, and it is very warm when I, have it under a shirt or a jacket or, winter coat. It does keep me warm. So yeah, that's the Yarnology cowl. That's what I'll call it for now, and I'll put the real name in the show notes and a link to the pattern and all of that. So, and if you want to see all the show notes, I do put them on. Been keeping up now better with the blog, which is livelearnknit@blogspot.com. And if you need to ever email me for anything, that's livelearnknit@gmail.com. So that's that information for you. And I should also say this episode is called Potpourri because, and I thought I had already talked Potpourri one previous episode, and I went back and looked, and I could not find that because I was going to say this was Potpourri Part 2. But, and it might be, and maybe I just didn't look hard enough. But anyway, it is, because we have a lot of little things. I finished some things in the last few weeks, and so I wanted to share those with you and have one work in progress to show, because I want to show a tip for, something I'm learning, kind of in the process of learning. So we'll see. I'm sure it's going to work out. I've done something, I think I've done this before and it worked. So it's just a little, it's not anything too technical. So, so the first thing I have that I finished is from last episode, the Ikigai cowl in the alpaca from the local alpaca farm, Just Story and Alpacas. And this was the shade, the alpaca was called Pretty Girl. And I'm going to see my friend Sherry on Sunday. And this was she bought the yarn and asked me if I would knit something for her. So I did. And it's soft. It's soft. I'm glad we did a cowl because, yes, it's very, it's alpaca. It's I don't think it would have made the best hat. So I think this is the perfect use for it. And I hope she likes it. And look, it would go well with this shirt as well. Because it's almost the same shade as that top color. Yeah. So I finished that. And I washed and blocked this. I didn't really block it. I laid it out, patted it flat, all that kind of stuff. I didn't stretch it out to a particular measurement or anything like that. So, so that's that. And then the other thing I finished was my pair of, I will call them park socks, because now there's going to be too much sun. But all of these colors, if you can see, that's really more the colors are back here in the shade. This washes them out too much, but you can still see the greens in there. All the greens and browns and golden colors just reminds me of our local state park that we have. And yeah, the picnic tables and the hiking trails and leaves, and yeah, so my camp socks. And this one I put on a stretcher blocker to show you, and then here it is all skinny. And again, I don't really block my socks. I just put them on my feet. But I haven't worn these yet, so I could show them to you. And I'm going to be wearing them soon. So if you want to go back and hear more about the camp socks, park socks, there's George. That was episode 10 from January of last year. So it took me from January to October to finish these socks. They were a take-along project, so they didn't get worked on continuously. And then, of course, if I got to the point where I was turning a heel or something, I maybe didn't, waited until I was at home, so they might have stalled a bit. And I like to take, good notes of what I do on the first sock, because this is just my own version of my plain vanilla sock, if you will. So I take good notes as, to how many stitches and how many rows and all of that. And So for me, the first sock is the harder sock, and because more things are being decided. And then the second sock knits up very quickly because I don't have to think about plan it out. I can just go. And I ended up, this was a 100-gram ball of Chopol wool boots was the yarn, which I believe is a cotton wool blend, cotton wool nylon blend. And I had just about a golf ball size ball of yarn left. So pretty good on the, I mean, it's a nice tall leg, which this is about the length that I like. Try and find some shade there. Yeah, it's not up front. But that's about the length I like for a leg. And yeah, so I'm very pleased, and I can't wait to wear them. I might wear them tomorrow. Yeah. So, and enjoy them. So that's the socks. That's two things. George is already, he's sitting here now on the cowl. George. He's like, well, you made it for me. I mean, he's got his hands folded like this and everything. He's like, yep, it's good, Anne. I'll take it. So, okay, that cat. Anyway, here's the third thing I finished recently is, oh, look at this fun kid's hat. Try and keep it out of the sun. So it's a long stocking cap with the tassel on it. And this is made out of a 100% acrylic fingering weight yarn from Bernat. This was called Socks yarn. And these were 50-gram balls. I bought a whole bunch of them to knit baby things, kid things out of. They had all these bright colors, and I got these one year at the Hirschner's warehouse sale, and it was like 99 cents a ball for the yarn, and I thought, oh, I like all the bright colors. And there was a lot of red, and remember the episode about the apple caps? I was making apple caps at that time, and so I bought a lot of red to use in the apple caps. And so I was getting low on some of the other colors. I had a lot of yellow and a lot of red, but not actually, I think I'm almost out of red now. I think I started the last ball. But I only had, fewer like of the orange and the purple and then this turquoise color. So I thought, well, before it's all used up, let me make something fun. And this is, I took an element from another pattern, and that pattern was the Beatrix Cap. There's a Beatrix Cap and sweater, and I thought the cap used to be a free pattern because I have it, but I don't have the sweater pattern. And they are by Elizabeth Morrison, and she's in, I think still, she was at the time, in Madison, Wisconsin, and she did a lot of designing for Knit Circus yarns. But yeah, I used this part of the Beatrix Cap, this color work section, and then her pattern went on, and so then I deviated and did my own thing, and just alternated the purple with sort of stripes of other patterns, until I got and did a gradual decrease until I got to the top. And why this stalled, because I made this probably 2 or 3 years ago, and then I didn't put the tassel on. And it's been sitting upstairs, and I kind of, oh yeah, I've got to finish that, and I just throw it to the side, and yeah, I should do that. And I realized I was almost out of the orange yarn, and I had no more purple left, or the turquoise, and I thought, well, I've got to have a few colors to put together for the tassel. So yeah, I did the orange, yellow, and red, and put the tassel on. So it fits, sadly, it doesn't fit me, it fits a child. Toddler child, yeah. So it will go somewhere else. and hopefully be enjoyed. Could be a gift. We'll see. So that's the, yes, my version of, well, a colorwork stocking cap. I will link to the Beatrix pattern in the show notes. I do need tea today. I don't know if it's just since turning the furnace on or, you know, since fall has come, but I feel very dehydrated all the time. And I'm trying to avoid, you know, I mean, I've already, yeah, my skin feels dry, or when I get to swim every day in the summertime, you know, all that moisture and everything, it really hydrates my skin. And I looked in the mirror the other day and it's like, oh, look at all the wrinkles. Oh my gosh, it's all because it's all drying out. There's no, I need to stick my head in a basin of water for half an hour a day or something. But that's what moisturizers are for, I guess. So the tea today is, oh boy, that sunshine. Sorry about that. There's no way. Back here, I guess. Sweet vanilla almond, or vanilla almond, from Republic of Tea. And I used to get a lot of Republic of Tea, or, you know, several varieties. And now I'm just using up what I have, and because I have a lot of different teas. So I like their teas, but yeah, I have to use some other things up first before I buy more. So that's tea. And now we're on to, those were three finished objects. We are on to the work in progress. And this is not that exciting. Maybe not for you. It is for me. I have been thinking, you know, trying to do things a little more mindfully myself these days, and not just, well, I needed another mindless project because I finished these socks, and I thought, well, I could just start another pair of socks. But what do I need? Why don't I make something I really need? And what I have wanted for a long time now is just a plain pair of knitted gloves. I mean, just solid color knitted gloves. I have a colorwork pair of fingerless mitts started. I'm trying to think if I started a whole pair of gloves. I don't think so. But, you know, I thought, no, just plain, just something that actually I could put on, and then even put on a pair of mittens over top or something like that. So, and I wanted also to have them be in a non-superwash fingering weight wool. I wanted a lot of things, didn't I? So I thought, okay, how am I going to make this project happen? I went upstairs and I looked through the stash, and of course, you know, mostly what was hitting me was superwash yarns. So I went into a box. It might have been that same little box that I showed in a past episode, for some vintage fingering weight yarn. And I'm sorry, I don't have a label with me, but this is Rochelle. It's just their fingering weight. I don't remember what kind of company Rochelle was. It's not around anymore. Wasn't something that was real popular, I don't think. But yeah, so it's just a sock and fingering weight wool, and I had 2 balls of red and 2 balls of beige. And again, I said I didn't need to do color work. I wanted to do, actually, I'll show you the pattern first. It's from this book, Vintage is as Vintage does. Well, if we're going to use vintage yarn, we'll use a vintage pattern. Because these old pattern books, they have the basics in there. They have, now this one's just gloves and mittens, so it is. Although I wondered, I want to look, sometimes it would say that, and then they would stick a sock pattern in there too. But, you know, here's your basic classic mittens and gloves for the entire family. And so you've got, you know, all the sizes of plain mittens over on this side, all the sizes of a glove with a textured hand on that side. And your basic, chart here of find what size you want to make and what your gauge is, and circle your numbers and proceed accordingly. So, it's good basic information. So I am making, let's see if I can find it here. Well, this is really not even it, but it's this glove, and yeah, I can't, well, there. So it's a hemmed glove. I'm not going to put this duplicate stitching on. I don't have to be that fancy. But yeah, so it's going to have a hem and a longer, probably even longer than what they show here. This is a bit short. So gauntlet, style cuff to it, and just a basic glove. And here's this is the red yarn, and this is my project now. So it's going to have a hem. So this is what I learned, or what I'm trying. I thought, well, rather than cast on and then have to I wanted to cast on provisionally. And how I usually do that is a crochet chain and pick up into it. And these are 0 needles. Golly, that crochet chain, I like to make them a little bigger, so I can see what I'm picking up into. But I thought even that will still be pretty small. And to pick up all those stitches, I forget how many I have on there. Let's see if I can tell you real quick. 78 stitches. So to pick up, 78 stitches into a provisional chain, I thought it's going to be awkward and bulky, and it might make the first couple rounds a little wonky till it gets evened out. So I don't think I want to do that. Now, once upon a time, very briefly, I had one of those knitting machines that they were selling, they popped up on a lot of craft programs on HGTV when they had more craft related programming. So mid-90s, 95, 96, 90, something like that. And I bought one of those machines, trying to remember who manufactured them, that you could use a bit of a bulkier weight yarn with. Well, I tried it. It wasn't for me. But what I learned from that was making a leader, of a scrap yarn first to get your project started, and then you switch to the actual project yarn. And then you would undo that leader after you were finished. And I thought, well, why don't I do that for this project? And I was going to cast on, and with, just a scrap of fingering weight yarn, and, knit an inch or two. And then I could switch to the colored yarn that I wanted to use for the hem, which is the beige, because that's going to be tucked up underneath. So I thought I would use some of that up rather than all of the red. And I thought, well, yeah, that should work. And then I can just, take out the stitch where they join and undo it and put those live stitches then on another needle. I will probably use a double pointed needle to, just do a few at a time. And then fold up my hem and knit the 2 rounds together to join them. Because I do like to do that rather than sewing that raw edge of a hem, or even a cast on, if I had done a long tail cast on. I could have picked up into the back of the long tail cast on, but I thought, no, that's fussy too. For me, folding and doing the 2 together is what I prefer. So I was going to look for some scrap yarn to do that. And then I was cleaning in the spare bedroom, and I found this cuff of a sock in this sock project that got started, and then it got, the yarn got cut off. So I wasn't even sure where the ball of yarn was. I just found this much of a cuff, and I see it's got a little bit of a jog there, a little twisted stitch pattern going on. And I thought, well, I don't know if I want to continue this sock or not, but why don't I just do that? So I had to just adjust the number of stitches. I did a few rounds in stockinette. I ripped back a bit, did a few rounds in stockinette, and I think I had to increase, this is 78, maybe 6 stitches to get this to be the same number. And then I switched to my beige. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm actually at that point right now. That's why I stopped working on this, so I could show you. I will be taking, here's the join right here. And if you can see that. So I'm just going to be taking, you know, this apart right at the, right here, and slipping a few stitches at a time on double pointed needle, holding it up, and, you know, knitting the beige together with the red. And then I will continue on. So what you're going to see then, you know, once that gets done, this will be the bottom of the glove, of the gauntlet, and we'll proceed from there. So that's what I'll do after the podcast, probably later this, well, no, not today, maybe not tomorrow. Well, I hope tomorrow. I am very close to finishing that red sweater that I showed a few episodes back also. That is a commission for my cousin's daughter. She tried it on again the other day, and I had just, you know, like 1/2 inch, and then to do the cuffs, and 1/2 inch, and then to do the ribbing on the bottom. I had put the collar on. It was looking really good on her. So we talked about buttons. I gave her a little swatch with 2 different size buttonholes so she could pick buttons out that she liked. And I really need to get back with her and see if she bought any yet, because I'm just about ready to make button bands and be done. And if she hasn't picked buttons yet, I'm just going to pick one of those 2 and say, okay, well, this is it. You know, go with whichever size I end up choosing. I think. I don't know. But yeah, I'd like to be done with it. I'm hoping to finish it today. So that's kind of exciting. So those are all the projects I have to talk about. Well, one other thing though. Because I'm knitting gloves, I did order from Shetland Wool Week. I like to always get their annual and get the pattern and, you know, the book that they have. And so when I went to buy that, I thought, well, what, you know, I always look to see what else they have. Last year I got some little journals, and some other, they had some other charted pattern booklets and that. Well, this year I thought, well, since I'm knitting gloves, I bought these wooden glove blockers. And it looks like they don't have thumbs, but they do. Here's the thumb. Separate. And I guess it's this way, but yeah, you know, yeah, that's because there's the index finger and the pinky's over here. Yeah, I bought this little pair of glove blockers. And again, I will put them on here. I don't know. You know, that's, wait a minute. That's the pinky. Okay. That's what I was trying to show you. You know, are those my finger sizes? Almost. That pinky is a little taller than mine. But it was just, you know, a fun thing to have. And really fun, when they sent the package, there were a couple things that were wrapped up, and the tissue paper that they used has got, upside down, has got Fair Isle sheep heads on it and designs. Isn't that cool? such fun. Let's show it back here too, even though that's farther away. But yeah, Fair Isle sheet tissue paper. How fun. So that is, yeah, that's all the projects. I have one more little thing to talk about. Recently, Baroko did an interview with Nora Gan, and Nora is a designer who has been around since the 80s. She started designing when she was very young. I think she was still in college, or just out of college, and she was in Rhode Island at the time, and a lot of her patterns appeared in Vogue Knitting, and I'm not sure about McCall's needlework, but for sure Vogue Knitting. And she is known for doing a lot of intricate cabling. She created a lot of new unique cables and stitch patterns. And at that time, you know, most sweater patterns were still being knit in pieces and seamed, and she does like that, but she also created some interesting construction, shaping, and such, because she has a math mind. And so she was able to figure out, you know, knitting is geometry. You know, even if you're knitting back and forth, you're knitting a rectangle, or, you know, look at those, like a parallelogram shaped shawl. You know, we are knitting geometry. And so she was able to combine all of that math brain into her designs. And I will link to her, of course, on the show notes, but she's got some really unique patterns. There's one that is a free pattern called, I want to say it's called Scintillate, and it is for a, I'm not going to get the whole name of it, but a dodecahedron shaped star. And I have the pattern. I want to make one. I want to knit one this time of year, Yuletide time. I think, oh, I'm going to knit that star. Because it's 3D, it's sculptural. So you could put it on the top of a Christmas tree, or, you know, out as a, you can stuff it really firmly and just have it out as a decoration. Yeah, it's really cool. So she did this interview with Baroko because she has some new designs for the fall line of Baroko Yarns. It's a men's pattern book. Were there 3 sweaters and a hat? Something like that. Or, yeah. Or 2 sweaters and a vest and a hat. But these, yeah, nice patterns for men. A lot of texture work. But not overly complicated either. So, and in the newer yarns that Baroko has out, they were really very nice patterns. So they talked about that, and then they're also, she's been reissuing, or Baroko maybe has been reissuing some of her older patterns too. So very interesting to hear from her, and, you know, this long career that she's had now for 40 years of knitwear design. And it's nice to see that she's kind of, you know, I think she was always active. I don't know that she had a pause at any time, but just that she's a little bit more in the limelight now, let's say. Because there was also an interview with her from Mason-Dixon Knitting. This, again, I'm losing a good spot to show you these things. Over here, the renewal. The latest field guide from Mason-Dixon Knitting is all designs by Nora Gan. And this does have 3 cardigans, a hat, and a pair of mitts. And most of these, look at, I like that hat. I will probably make that hat. That hat, the texture pattern is also in, and you know, there it is on the woman's head. That is also in this Jacob's cardigan. And it was very interesting to hear her talk about how she designed these sweaters and how they do what they do, because this one, as you can see, there's no button band on it. It's basically the knitting goes past this, and then it rolls back in on itself, and she said it self faces, which is kind of unique. And then you sort of have a bit of a shawl collar to it, snug collar at the back of the neck. So here is the back of another cardigan that is in this pattern book. And most of these designs, and this is a very long garment. I believe it's knit bottom up. So, I like to knit top down. She does talk about she is designing some of her patterns to be worked in either direction, or she will give the information to do it in either direction. But what was I saying? Oh, most of these designs are knit in Rowan felted tweed, held with a strand of Rowan kid silk haze. I think the hat is just Rowan tweed, or felted tweed. And then there is one item, I think the mitts. There are some mitts in here. Yep. Fingerless mitts. And look here's the cable. And the cable is also the thumb opening. See what I mean about clever design? She is very clever. So that is knit in the new Modern Daily Knitting. I think I said Mason Dixon, I'm sorry. Modern Daily Knitting Jane yarn that they came out with, which is a blend of Masham and, what were the two yarns? They mentioned it. Here we go. Falkland Merino and Masham wool. And so that is a non-superwash woolly wool type yarn. And I think I ordered this from them because I am not a subscriber yet. And I got one skein of Jane. I don't know if I got two. I think you need two to make that hat, and only one to make the mitts. So we will see. Yeah, you need two skeins for the hat because they are 50-gram skeins of yarn. Anyway, 2 interviews with Nora Gan, and both really interesting. So I will put links because Baroko, I'm pretty sure you can still link to that video interview, and also the MDK interview. Yes, so I will put the links to those in the notes. If you haven't seen them already, take a view of them. It's a nice thing to watch while you're knitting. It's good information. So that is everything for me today, and which is good because the sun is look at that perfect angle. That's really something. So yeah, the clouds have cleared a bit. The sun is out. I am going to go take a nice walk and then come back and work on that red sweater and get it done. And I will get it done. I will get it washed and blocked. And then I will probably do an episode about it before I hand it off to Lauren. I would like to also get some photos of her in it afterward. I don't know. Maybe I'll try and do 2 little videos and put them together. See how that goes. Learn something new in the techie world. I've tried it in the past, and I did it once and it went fine, and then I couldn't figure out how to do it again. So, yeah, technology. Anyway, yeah, so I'm excited to be finishing that project so that I can, start all kinds of other things. I've got to work on my friend Kathy's sweater, and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so all kinds of good things coming up in the near future. With that being said, I had seen a really great quote the other day, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it really fast. I thought, oh, save that for the end of your episode, Anne. And I probably won't be able to find it very quick, but it was really good. I'll just have to make something up on my own. Oh my goodness. As we turn into fall and winter here, or wherever you are, boy, not often that I'm at a loss for words, is it? I guess just be mindful of your making and be happy in your making and enjoy, be a cat and lean on a nice pillow of alpaca and enjoy the sunshine. And if you don't have sunshine where you are the sunshine. I know I've said that before, but we are all our own sunshine, or we should be if we're not. So take care of everyone. We will see you again next time with hopefully more finished objects, more interesting things to talk about. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.